Hi, it's Sunday afternoon. I'm here with my friend Vicki Perry. Vicki is the person I had the conversation with last week that she encouraged me to write about, and so that was my blog post, and I've gotten so many responses to the blog post, which has been really interesting. So we just kind of wanted to take the conversation a little bit deeper and share it with everybody. And this all started because Vicki lives by a marina. We're sitting looking at the boats, and there was it was a Trump flag, right? Or Make America Great flag.
Sure.
And that kind of started the conversation. And normally I wouldn't have this conversation with very many people, and I think I have to thank President Donald Trump for making me more conscious, right? So I decided I could open up to Vicki. I trust her, and it was all going to be fine. So I actually voted for Donald Trump last time, and it's because I wasn't a conscious person, and I would always vote the way Dan voted, because Dan would do his research. I never really cared. I thought he did his research. He's a smart guy, and it was something that he didn't really like me doing, which I found out after the fact. And so I have changed. I have become more aware, and it's because of the things that are going on in this country that I'm very concerned about.
So Dan is your husband, right?
Dan is my husband, yeah.
For those of us who don't know.
Who don't know. And I always just voted, like I said, I always just voted the way he voted. And I think it's time to have my own voice and to do my own research. And I just had to make clear with that presidential election, I did not vote the way he voted for. I didn't vote for who he voted for. He doesn't really want me talking about who he voted for, but but I was walking to the polls that day with him, and I was back and forth in my head, and I just could not vote for Hillary Clinton.
So that's the part when I asked you, so why? Because I was really curious, especially after I watched him make fun of a man with cerebral palsy. It was hard for me to understand how you would support that type of character.
Right?
I just was
And
curious.
I have a son that has special needs.
So that is your answer to that was illuminating.
Yeah, and to have you ask me that question is like, I don't know. Why couldn't I vote for Hillary Clinton? Well, there's a lot I didn't like about her, but why could I vote for a man like Donald Trump? Where Hillary Clinton maybe said things I didn't agree with either. She called the Trump voters a basket of deplorables or whatever she called them.
Right.
But here's, Donald Trump acting like he has cerebral palsy, making fun of that population, and why was that okay?
I loved your answer. Remember what you said? You said, I expect more from women.
I expect more from women.
Interesting.
I guess so.
And a lot of people do.
Yeah. But what I realized from writing my blog post is that I don't really like women newscasters.
True, you said about leaders.
And about women sportscasters. I'm thinking, why are they doing that? They don't care about that. But that's crazy. And now that I'm more aware, I'm going to be more open to this because I don't want to be that way. That's not good.
But it's so honest. See, good or bad, I just love your honesty and your courage to say all this because you're not alone. That's what I said to you, and I mean it. There are so many women that are voting either like their husbands or not aware of the systemic patriarchal parts to themselves because it's men and women. In my mind back then, I knew she didn't get elected, not because she has flaws, because everybody's flawed, but because she was a woman. I don't care what anybody said, because her flaws were not as big as his. But the men were going to find something, and the women, that we're not okay with a woman to be president. I really believe that with my whole heart. And a lot of people, or a lot of men easily will say, oh, no, if it was a different woman. I don't think so. I heard that when it was between her and Obama, when there was the nominee for a Democratic president, I heard people say, I'd rather vote for a black man than a white woman. That's what I heard. So it just shows you how deep, and that's how that, because it's so threatening. I remember recently reading and hearing that when women wanted the right to vote, men were scared as anything. Like, wait a minute, then the woman won't want to wash the dishes, or maybe then she'll want to do something even more, like have a job.
I'm still washing the dishes.
But it was interesting that it's so threatening for
Right.
men. And why? That's the question.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen if women have equal say like Ginsburg said, women should be present for every decision made.
Right.
It's true. We're part of it, like the feminine part. And not that every man, I mean, there are men that have feminine perspective, which is wonderful. But as people, I think we have both masculine and feminine. And to use both of them, that's
Really powerful.
powerful,
Right.
exciting. And the feminine cares more about the earth. Like I know you care very much about the earth and what's happening
Right.
and our nutrition and sustainability of
Right.
energy and
Right.
all of that.
Yep.
And that's the wisdom of the grandmother and the feminine.
And there's such a huge divide with these two parties and all of those
Exactly.
issues.
Exactly.
So I think it's really important that people do their research.
Do the research, but not just into what does each person stand for, which is important. But what do I stand for? What are my values? And does this person
Right.
match my values?
Right.
Or is it my roots that taught me to not,
Trust. Right.
yeah, to not trust women, you know, to, I don't know, somehow not trust Democrats. I'm not sure, you know, what other people, some people I have spoken to, one woman said when she got married, her family told her, you have to now be the same political party as your husband because he holds the wallet. And they were completely opposite. And they continued. They're interesting. Yeah, and I thought, oh my goodness, and she's way younger than me. Another woman, she just was going to go along with her husband, whoever he was voting for, that's what she was going to
Right.
do. Even if it didn't match her value system.
Right. And I don't know if I had said this, but you know, Dan, he didn't like me just voting the way he voted, but
Makes sense.
You know?
Yeah. Mhm.
but he loves me and whatever, you know, but he wasn't comfortable with that. So now he's got other issues to deal with.
But it's such an interesting conversation, right?
Right.
The conversation of our values, systemic patriarchalism, right?
Right.
It's so ingrained in our society that we don't even notice it. It's kind of like racism. So ingrained in our society that we don't even notice when we're being racist, right? In our comments,
Right.
what we say.
But it's shifting. All this, a lot of
It is shifting.
awareness over everything.
I'm encouraged and enthusiastic about the shift. Yeah.
Right.
And just our conversation alone was so encouraging too. It was wonderful.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
loved our conversation.
Well, and then how I ended it is like maybe a grandma needs to run this country.
I
Right?
agree.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we wouldn't be so quick to send our children off to war, our
Exactly.
grandchildren off to war.
And they realize the value of nutrition, the value of our earth, right?
Yes.
And just the idea of being with your values and don't give them up for somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to have a voice. I love your voice, by the way.
Thank you so much.
I love your writing
I love your
and-
voice
Oh,
too.
thank you. So yeah, so I was so excited. That conversation stayed with me and really warmed my heart that we had it. You were so open and courageous.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening and supporting me.
You're
You're a good
welcome.
friend. So I think we're going to end it here. We would love to hear from you if you have just stirred any kind of feelings in you that you want to tell us about. That would be great to know, right? So we're opening the conversation. So anything else you want to add?
No, thank
No.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful evening.